forward to an amazing conversation today. So as usual, when you join, make sure to drop where you're joining from and any questions you have around anything sales related. Today's topic, I think, is going to be really relevant for anyone who's looking to up their skills around the discovery process and better ways to interact with customers. So today's topic is all about this concept of how do we do a better job of triaging different buyer types based on where they're at in the intent funnel. So I'll try to say that again. In 2022, gosh, we're getting so close to 2023. Can you believe we're like literally 3-4 weeks away from Q4, which is just insane. More and more customers are doing research. And I know, look, we've been saying this for a long time, but the reality is it's true that more and more customers are coming to you that, and I'm not saying all customers are more 70% educated. That's just not true. What I am saying is that for the first time in the history of B2B sales, companies are going to come inbound, and not just come inbound, but also once they get on the first call or agree to the first call, they are coming and saying, look, I already know a little bit about what you do. I might have even researched the competition, etc. And so today I'm going to give you all really like a play-by-play of how do you do a better job of interacting with buyers that might come to you. Make sure I'm not too loud there. That might come to you with different levels of intent. Today's many sales processes today are focused on this word qualification. How many of you hate the concept of qualifying somebody? Yuck. I hate it. The thought of like my whole job in sales is to qualify someone just sounds very not in the spirit of, being a good partner or in the spirit of sales really in general. The reality is the first call is a discovery. It's understanding both sides. What do we do? What do they do? Is there potentially something there, etc. Now, I'm going to be spending a few different sessions walking through the steps of this process in terms of how do you build an intent-based sales process. But today, what I'm going to do is focus on the criteria for which buyers should go through and how to have those conversations. So a lot of you might use MEDDIC or MEDPIC or some other qualification criteria, just depending on what you all use. I'd love to hear what you all use. If you want to drop it in the chat too, you can feel free to let me know. Again, let me know where you're joining me from. And also let me know, do you use BANT or MEDDIC or NEAT or some other type of qualification framework? I'm curious if like what people are using today or not using today. But I'm going to focus on the questions that probably come before any of these types of qualification questions, which are questions that say, okay, where is Jake at in this process? Meaning I could have done no research. You just reached out to me. I could have just had a whim. I had a bad meeting with a coworker or something, and or a good meeting, and something popped in my head. I'm like, oh, is there a solution for XYZ? Is there a solution for this problem? And I just went to Google, searched it, filled out a form, and came inbound, right? Or everywhere in between. I went to a buddy. I reached out to someone on a network I'm a member of, and I said, hey, I need this problem solved. Because does anybody know anybody? Then I went and did research. And I talked to that person. I then went on G2 where I Googled competitors of X and I found you. And so unlike, let's just rewind 4 years ago where when people came to you, there just wasn't that much information I could find out other than maybe your website. There wasn't that much information I could find out other than like talking to a peer. And this whole kind of shadow concept here, my friend Chris Walker calls it dark social. But I call it like dark intent building. Which are, I can't, somebody downloading a white paper is not intent, right? Someone attending a webinar is not intent. And for those of you who are like, Jake, well, that's how we do it. Let me ask you this. Who has a higher intent? Someone who reached out on a Slack group that they're a part of, a senior leader who said, hey, I'm looking for a solution like XYZ, and then comes inbound to your website. All you know is that they came inbound. And you can't track that. You have no clue. You can have no history with this person. You might look, oh, they filled out a form. They're not qualified. But the reality, they did all this vetting ahead of time. So that's the topic for today is how do you understand how to understand where to find out where someone is and get them down the path as fast as possible. And to do this, I've really defined this in kind of 3 buckets. Okay. Bucket 1 is cold, educated, vetted. Okay. These are kind of the three buckets that we're going to talk through. I guess people are quiet today. The chatter on the comments is a lot less than normal, but hey, I get it. Maybe you need your cup of coffee, your tea. That's what I'm having right now is tea. I usually only drink coffee when I'm on vacation to just like give me that extra pep. I've switched to black tea almost exclusively. I can get into a whole episode on caffeine and what the positives and pros and cons there. So I'm going to talk about these concepts of cold, educated, vetted. Cold, okay, and I'm just kind of I'll drop in some of my definitions here. I've tried to do this. Actually, here, I'm just going to drop in all of it for you. I'm going to drop in all my definitions for you here in the comments. So you have them. So you can just follow along. You can go back up to the top if you need to. There you go. So cold is somebody who hasn't done any research or any due diligence on your product, right? It means that they haven't met with a competitor. They haven't researched your offering. They haven't, looked at pricing. They haven't researched your website, watched a demo. They really haven't done anything. And this is going to be a lot of your cold meetings. And one thing that I would call out for a lot of individuals here is that there's no point in having someone show up to a cold meeting cold. Meaning if your SDR team or somebody reaches out, fantastic, great, love that. But now, is there a process that we can use to actually get those people to the next level up, which is what I call educated as a part of this? Shout out to Orly. Orly uses, force management method, which is like a combination of Medic. They use a technique called command of the message. Force management's messaging is one of the interesting. Would you ever want to meet with a company where you knew the technique that they were using is called command of the message? I don't know. I'm just not a big fan of that concept. So anyway, back to cold versus educated. So what if prior to meeting with somebody, you could get them a little bit more prepared? What if you could send them some details, not just some PDF? Oh, hey, please take a look at this. They're never going to do it. But something that's interactive, something that's like even a questionnaire, something that lets them to help to get a little bit more educated on what they're up to as a part of this. And I think this is where the big opportunity is for a lot of you. So if you're an SDR or you're a sales rep who sets their own meetings, I want you to think about this one concept. Before I meet with someone, can I get them to be a little bit more educated on what we do? Okay. For a lot of you, all right, I think you might think about that and like, yeah, people don't want to do research, etc. I don't disagree. So the key is, what are some ideas or some ways that you could, leverage to get people more educated? Okay, I'm going to give you some very quick pointers here. One, could you come up with a quick 4 or 5 question questionnaire that allows someone to quickly check yes, no, select from a pick list, something that helps you to better understand their level of intent, right? Because look, I can understand if they're a decision maker. I can understand, yeah, they've got a timeline, but I don't know how educated they are. And so can I ahead of time send over some type of just quick questionnaire? Hey, looking forward to the conversation to save us both 5 to 10 minutes during the initial part of the conversation. If you could just let me know these 4 things, it'll make for a much more productive conversation. Every single buyer dreads getting on the phone with salespeople because they know they're going to get bombarded with questions. So if you tell them, hey, this is actually going to save you time, this is actually going to save you, 10 minutes, they'll fill out the questionnaire. They'll be more likely, I should say, to fill out the questionnaire. Number 2, do you have yet a standardized demo recording? Anything, something that's, and again, a couple of minutes is all I'm talking about here. Something that somebody could watch asynchronously to get an idea of, what the product does, what it, like the problems it solved for, etc. Number 3, could you send them a link to some type of G2 page? If you don't know G2, go check it out. It's a page that's solely focused on reviews and vetting between people. Could you send them, hey, check out our G2, check out what our customers say. Go spend 2 minutes on that. And if a customer goes and spends, even if they filled the questionnaire or they just watched the video or they just go to G2, that customer is going to come in to what we call educated, which means they've done one of the 3, right? They've researched your offering, they have a clear business outcome they're looking to achieve, and they have an idea of timeline. We've found consistently that if somebody has a business outcome in mind they're trying to solve, not just a usage problem. They don't have to be the decision maker, but they know the timeline of the project. They know the outcomes we're looking to achieve, and maybe they've done just a tad bit of research. Any of those things, right? So from here, again, what I want people to think about, kind of like next step is, okay, so they've done this. They've become educated. They know the process a little bit, etc. Okay, now what do we do, right? Do we try to, do we engage them? Do we not engage them? What does that look like? So then the next step is vetted. Okay, so I want you to think about that. So we've got cold, and between someone coming in cold, can I try to get them to educated either before or after we meet? That makes sense. That would be something that I'd want to do here, right, as a part of this. So that's definitely one thing to do, okay, would be, can I get someone from cold to educated sooner than later, right? Great. Would love to do that. All right, next up is, how do I get people from educated to vetted? Okay, and I want you to think about this. You have buyers today that are coming to you at step one in what I would consider a vetted stage. So what do I mean by that? These are people that have actually done a lot more. They've done all the things that I mentioned and maybe 3 or 4 other things, right? They've also, after they've done that research, they're coming to you. They already talked to a peer. They already had it, like maybe 2 demos before you. And now they're coming to you really looking for insights. They're coming to you being like, look, you need to show me the, you need to show me the path. I'm already at step 3. And the problem is, most sales processes are only meant to meet people, meant to meet people at step 0, right? A typical discovery process is almost identical, when the reality is someone could be cold or someone could be way down the path. They could have already done the research. And so you have to think about, do I have intent-based discovery questions to lead my discovery process? If you don't have intent-based discovery questions, there's a high likelihood you are talking about things that people already know. You're talking about things that people don't care about, or they don't care about it now. They'll care about it in meeting 3, because you're going through this whole process of, again, kind of treating everyone the same. Whereas the reality is, imagine if every buyer was treated the same on Amazon, right? So everybody has to click the link, click this other thing, do this. No, for some products, I would be able to go in, click buy now, sort by prime. Can this thing get to me tomorrow? Other products, it's okay if it's 2 weeks from now. And so for a lot of people, we have to get away from this mindset that a sales cycle is one size fits all, that we use the MEDDIC process at each step of the process, here, 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 and here. The reality is, people might already be coming to you at step 6 or step 7. So for everyone out there, that's really kind of the core concept here around intent-based discovery, which is, does your discovery process have the ability to suss out where someone is in the actual buying process? And if it doesn't, if you don't have a way to get people excited, if you don't have a way to meet people with where they're at, you are going to be at a massive disadvantage. If your questions all start off with like, great, tell me about your budget or your pain, those are telling you facts. This is it. That's great. But if I don't know where your level of intent is, how can I give you the best possible experience? So for everyone out there, that's what I want you to think about for the rest of this week is, do you have questions that will really allow you to understand where someone's at in the intent level as they come through it? So the concept isn't that crazy. Okay. The concept isn't that crazy in terms of, yeah, Jake, that makes sense. I would want to understand where someone is at the intent level. So all of you, your homework item between now, and I just dropped a chat in here. We'll obviously have our LinkedIn Live coming up next week. We'll do another one of these. This is just a quick hitter for today. We also have anyone who works for a product-led growth company. We've got a session coming up next week. If you are interested in learning more about these modern techniques, Jake, intent-based sales, I've never heard of this before. I totally get it. Sign up for the newsletter. You can sign up for it on LinkedIn if you're on LinkedIn more. If you want email, you can sign up for it on email. Either one is fine. But we're going to be talking a lot about this. This to me is just step one. And what I want to do in today's session is just expose you to this concept of, okay, how do I understand if someone is cold? How do I understand if someone is somewhat educated? And so how do I understand if someone is somewhat vetted? Right? Wow, they've done this. And then the next few sessions will be, okay, well, what do we do with that? So everyone, your homework is to go and think, okay, what can I do before my first meeting to get people from cold to vetted? Can I put together content, not in just read a PDF and you figure it out? Again, could I create a questionnaire? Could I create a quick video? Could I create a quick customer story that I know is relevant to them? Any of those things will do, right? Then how do I understand if someone's not just educated, they're vetted? And so if someone is like, I've done this, I've done this, I've done that, and you say, okay, great, you're already here. Tell me what the next 2 steps of your process are. They probably already have a process. So again, then the goal becomes, and you can go back up and look at what I say goes into vetted versus educated. How do you skip all the BS and all the noise and all the questions and all the things to say, whoa, this person's already researched the competition. They already knew about pricing. They've already done this. They've already done this. They've already done this. Let me just get them into sales motion as fast as humanly possible. And I'm telling you, today in B2B sales, you have to be able to meet the buyer with where they are from an intent level. You cannot just launch into your discovery. You have to understand if they have done some of these activities. So then you can deliver the best possible, semi-customized experience to them versus one size fits all. So that, my friends, that's all I've got for you today. Quick little 20-minute hitter. All of you, I want you to take this concept, cold, educated, vetted, and apply it to your sales process. And that will make a big impact on the quality of the conversations. When people go, great. Hey, thanks, Jake, for not making me sit through X or sit through Y, etc. So any of those things will be very, very helpful for you. Like I said, sign up for the sessions we've got next week. I dropped it in the chat. And make sure to sign up for the Modern Leader newsletter, where we talk about modern sales topics and things that will help to make you better, both as a leader and an individual contributor. So thank you, everyone, for joining. And we will see you all next week.